Hey guys, how's it going? Maybe you've seen Finding Nemo. It's a movie came out a while back about a clownfish and his relationship with his son. And it also highlights the relationship that clownfish have with sea anemones. And there's this what's called mutual symbiosis in which they help each other out. It's such a close relationship that it's hard for us to imagine the one without the other. We see a picture of a clownfish and it has a sea anemone in the background. We see a picture of a sea anemone and it's got a clownfish head sticking out of it. And so we see them as closely linked. You know, Jesus talks about a relationship that is even closer than that. Remember on Sunday we talked about the Lord as a good shepherd, the Lord as our shepherd. We looked at Psalm 23 and talked about how the Lord as a shepherd provides, how he guides, how he restores, and how he protects. We also talked about how David called him my shepherd, not just a shepherd or our shepherd, but there's a personal relational aspect to this shepherd. We referenced Jesus as the Good Shepherd, but we didn't get really to talk about it very much. In John chapter 10, Jesus talks about being the Good Shepherd. And there's a particular passage I want to read to you. It says in John 10, starting at verse 11, I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me and I know the Father and I lay down my life for the sheep. Jesus in this passage contrasts the relationship of a hired hand with the relationship of a shepherd to sheep. And then he says something very interesting. He says that he knows his sheep in the same way that the Father knows him. And his sheep know him in the same way that he knows his Father. The degree of intimacy that this implies is staggering. Jesus and his Father are one. Jesus tells us that he only does what he sees his Father doing. In fact, at one point he's talking with the disciples, I think it's in John 14, and they ask him to show them the Father, and he says, don't you know that if you've seen me, you've seen God the Father? That if you know me, you know God the Father? You see, at the core of all that Jesus did was the Father. This is a much deeper relationship than just a casual once or twice a week connection. It's a relationship that stretches beyond a 30-minute morning devotions, although those are good. It's a relationship that bleeds into every aspect of our life, and it is there that we find the deepest, richest, fullest aspect of who we are meant to be. What does that mean for us? This passage tells us that the sheep know Jesus. We are the sheep. How well do we know him? Not just know about him, but know him. How well do we know his voice? What are we doing to follow him? What patterns are we building into our lives that make him a regular part of it? How are we doing at submitting to him? These are all good questions for us to ask ourselves as we think about our relationship with the Good Shepherd.